guys, how are you? Great to hear. Welcome to my comeback on YouTube. I know it's been a hot minute. Last time you probably saw me, I was running, along the streets of London and England trying to prepare for my half marathon that happened on the 6th of April of 2025, and no update from then or even off the run. I did vlog a little bit. I did not put it together. So yeah, my name is Kat. If you're new here, again, if you're new here, probably just like one person that stumbled across my video and you're like, what is this? Well, I'm going to explain to you, okay? I am. Two things to start off with. My ADHD is wild today. I don't even know how I managed to do like 3 or 4 tasks already this morning without crumbling into my ADHD hole. And then I had like the impulse of recording this video to give you guys a little update. I'm just really trying to connect with my creative side again. And I do love making videos, being creative in that sense, and also editing. So I thought this would be the perfect kind of quick hello kind of video. So last time you saw me, I was a runner. I am not anymore. I'm trying to get back to it slowly. March is my birthday month, so I did have a wonderful birthday. I was running a lot, but I did share here that I was having little fibro flare-ups, a little tiny weeny, can I say that without sounding too dramatic, but like little wake-up calls that I did not hear from my body saying you're pushing it a little bit too hard. I was already like kind of, training really hard and practicing running my half marathon, and I was really into it. I was really into making the videos, but I was managing a really hard job already with a really heavy caseload because I was working in the NHS and lung cancer. And by the way, I absolutely loved the team and loved where I worked and the patients that I worked with. So just to preface that it was a bit more that I could chew because I'm a very empathetic person. So I was taking all the sorrow and all the sadness from the cases that I saw on a day-to-day basis home with me, and not really, even though I have therapy and I was doing therapy at this point nearly weekly, it was not working. So I did run the half marathon on the 6th of April of 2025. I did raise around £500, if not a bit more. Just wanted to thank, if you're here and you helped out or shared it, I'm really, really grateful. It was, one of the biggest achievements of my life was doing that, especially with my amazing body that has a lot of issues from fibromyalgia to IBS, ADHD. Oh, I forgot to say, the second point is I'm using my hand cream as my mic stand. So I ran the half marathon. It was fine. It was lovely. It was a really big challenge. I did have a lot of pains and aches towards the end, and I was not being able to sustain the running. So I had to do a lot more walking breaks, but I did half of the half marathon. I did half of the way without stopping, which was incredible. And then when I stopped for my first gel, it was lovely. And I also broke my watch, my smartwatch, because I forgot to charge it the night before. Instead of leaving it at home, no, I took it with me. And halfway through the run, I was trying to record the time and effort and everything on Strava, as one does. Everyone loves Strava, right? And I somehow managed to taking it off, and I was trying to protect it because, there was a lot of people on the street, and sometimes you're overtaking and undertaking runners. And I was hit by some support signs for other people. And I was like, oh, I don't want to ruin my watch. So I tried to put it on one of my pockets at a watch station right in the beginning of the run. And it falls out of my pocket right into the middle of the pavement, and it broke the whole thing. And then I didn't get it fixed for ages, so it was a bit of a pain, but I didn't let that bring me down. And I was just so excited to be there. I was dancing along with the music. Like, I was so ADHD again. I was living for the moment. I did have a really amazing time, and then the end of it, I was crying. And my amazing boyfriend at the time, which is now my fiance, let me show you, and his mom were waiting for me and a couple of my friends. So it was really, really lovely. I was very emotional, very tearful, could not believe that I did that. And I showed to myself that I can do anything. So that was wonderful. So then went to some more gigs. A girl loves her heavy metal, and one does what one needs to survive. And for me, it was going to gigs, especially with my partner. I was going with him all the time to gigs and stuff, and it was just brilliant. And kind of I feel like I was just doing a lot of staying busy so I don't face what I'm actually needing to face. Like, mentally I was fine, but I was just pushing myself towards the edge. And I didn't really realize how bad I was getting. So around May, I start having a lot of anxiety. I was feeling really burned out, very depressed, struggling to get out of bed every morning, like very tearful. And I was pushing already myself to the limit in January. But because I had this massive goal to run the half marathon, I was just like survival mode. We got this adrenaline, let's go. And even with my body already telling me throughout the winter that I was pushing myself a bit too much, I just kept going. And I thought, I'm doing great because I'm running, so it's fine. The naivety of a 27-year-old is, when it hits May, things get a bit heavy. And towards the end of May, I just couldn't do my job anymore properly. I'm very empathetic. So I probably already said this. And I really struggle to separate the art from the artist kind of way, but at work. So like I get really involved with people and you get to know their families and, they're your patients, but you also really want to give them the best service and the best care you can. And I felt like it got to a point that I was giving out a lot and not giving myself enough. And I was struggling with everything and I would leave work and I'll be crying. So it was a really hard decision for me to say, I actually need a break. I need to go back on antidepressants and sort my mental health out and my life out. So I was off sick for most of the summer. Thankfully, I have the most amazing support and group of friends that I could ever ask for. And I did have a lot of festivals booked in and everything. And in my head, stereotypical me would be like, you're off sick, you need to stay at home. You can't go on a trip with your partner's family to the lakes, or you can't go, go to gigs or try to have a good time with people that you know and make you feel happy because you're off sick. And even though it's mental health, if it was physical health, you wouldn't leave the house either, would you? So my brain was fighting against me, which I was already fighting against myself. It's a lot, isn't it? Like, this is really hard to explain. But for those who know, like mental health is very hard to grasp and to manage and to get through like a crisis like that. I was literally in a crisis. I was having like symptoms like agoraphobia. Like I wouldn't even leave the house. That's how bad it was. I was not doing anything. And I ended up moving in with my partner and his family earlier than expected because I was just like, can't stay in London, trauma, PTSD, whatever you can call it, symptoms, they were hitting me like a ton of bricks. I could not stay there. And then I was just like, what the hell am I doing with my life? So I've been in this crisis for the rest. So it's I would say for the rest of 2025 or for the majority of it. So I stopped doing anything creative. I was a shell myself. I didn't know who I was. I couldn't see myself in the mirror. I hated everything about myself. I was in such a bad place. Yeah, that summer was bleh. I never cried so much in my entire life. I'm saying this as if I should receive an award for it, like my brain. But yeah, so it was really, really hard. And like I was saying, like I was really, really lucky because I had an amazing group of people and my partner and my family back home also like being really supportive. So I decided to still go to some of the festivals and have the best time that I could have. It was not without its challenges. Connecting with things that I love the most, which is music, and seeing bands live was like very healing, but at the same time very challenging because I was afraid of leaving the house, but then I was in a massive festival full of people and managing that and starting a new medication. It was just wonderful. And then the rest of my summer was literally me being off sick, trying to get back up on my feet, adjusting medication, which took ages, and then fibro flare-ups in between because then my whole body composition was changing with the medication I was taking. And then it was really warm, and when you're taking antidepressants, especially the heavy ones, you know how dehydrated you get and how sick you feel. Like it's this whole thing. And again, I'm very privileged. Each struggle anyone faces should be seen as that struggle. Like we should not compare, but I know that I'm very privileged to have such amazing support, a place to live, a place to run to if I'm feeling unwell. But it was still really, really hard. It was really, really hard period. So like I was getting myself back together slowly and I was feeling empowered. I had a new job. I gave up or I quit my previous job because health wise I just could not cope, both physically and mentally. I stopped working out as much. If I ran like 3K in the treadmill once a month, I would be very happy to even be able to move. So start of September, I was like, okay, I got this now. Like mental health is stabilized, we're taking enough antidepressants, I really want to stay in line with my profession and just do a less physically demanding job and maybe working from home. I'm going to have a better routine, and, the stresses of traveling, commutes, and stuff will be decreased. I will do a lot better. Newsflash, I did not. As I started to do, like after the training, as I started to do assessments, I started to stress myself out. I'm a perfectionist, so trying to write reports in a short amount of time and doing assessments and all of that didn't work. So it led me to having fibro flare-ups nearly on a daily basis again, but like tiny ones, like the ringing the siren kind of, you're about to have a big one because you're not chilling and you're not doing what your body needs, which is having a low pressure stress job. I don't know. I lost all my vocabulary there. Then I started to have, so I've had like 1 or 2 migraines, but I literally have the migraine aura. They come like once every 6 months, I've realized, and that one was really bad. Like I couldn't eat, I couldn't do anything. I nearly threw up a bunch of times, couldn't even get out of bed. My anniversary with my partner was coming up, and that's when he proposed, and it was the most amazing experience. So I started to get sick with the flu or a really bad cold that my partner brought home with him and decided to give to me, which, the best engagement gift ever. And we joke about it all the time. But that led to my biggest fibro flare up in the last 2 years. So I was pretty much bedbound and everything was literally just falling apart. Like all my independence was gone. And I think it was a combination of fibro and mental health. They're very connected. So all the summer catching up with me, starting a new job, being quite stressed. So 2 huge setbacks in 2025, and especially towards the end of the year. I've increased antidepressants again. Things started to get a bit better, but every single time I was doing anything work related, I was literally falling back into that hole of anxiety, despair. And at the same time, my body would be so effing painful. Like I was struggling so much again. So decided that job was definitely not for me, and decided that I needed to try to find something new. Yeah, a lot of good stuff happened. I moved in with my partner. I love his family. We're all living together. I am engaged and I'm planning my wedding for 2027, which is so freaking delicious to say. Like I'm so happy, and I know that I want to stay with this person and his family for the rest of my life. I'm just so excited to step into this kind of new level of our relationship. So that is really, really exciting. And it's been driving me to do a lot of stuff. Like when I was off sick, I would have naps or like be aching for like 3 or 4 hours. And then in that little bit of time that I could, maybe have a quick wash or do something and I still had a bit of energy, I would be wedding planning. And it has been really great. I know I did a lot of work. I keep doing therapy. I keep working on myself. I'm rehabbing myself, walking the dog, doing longer distances every time, kind of try to go back to the gym. So I've been doing quite a lot. Recovery is slow. So I'm just, reading books and trying to get back on my feet and trying to get that physical tolerance again for physical exercise. And mentally, I've been doing, a lot of writing as well, because I do love writing and being creative. But yeah, so that's kind of the summary of 2025 for a year after the last time we spoke. I know, what a whirlwind. But just wanted to come here, have a bit of a chat, because this bit of chat has also been really helpful for me to kind of like realize how much I've gone through and how strong I am. Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out who I am again still, to be honest with you. ADHD also doesn't help because I get really excited about certain hobbies. Like I literally, you can't see, but there is like 10,000 things in this corner. You can see a bit of yarn here. I've been trying to knit a sweater for 4 years now, and I have a blanket that I haven't even finished. So there's a lot of stuff that I try and do, and I can do a lot of stuff, but I just want to do something that I do well, that I'm passionate about, and then I can go back to and still feel happy to do it every day. And, with the pressures of trying to change jobs, but then thinking, maybe I'm not good enough to do this job. I'm just trying to survive. First of all, I wanted to come here and talk about it because I feel like mental health is still considered a bit of a taboo, and different people have different experiences. Okay. And we all know how hard it can be for someone to go through them, especially when you feel so isolated during the hard times. Like, even though I was surrounded by people that loved me, I was still feeling like I was going through something really hard by myself. I think it's so important for us to kind of go through this kind of topic on social media, and I've tried to do that before, and I will continue to do that. And especially nowadays, with the times that we live in, there's a lot of scary stuff happening in the world. I was just thinking that maybe maybe I could do something that would help me, but also maybe entertain other people during these hard times and bring a bit of joy. That is about it for this video. I still don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm hoping to do something cool. I do love a chit chat, so I would love to do a bit of like a podcast. Yeah, just remember to be kind to one another. We never know what people are going through. Some diagnoses, some diseases are very silent and are invisible. They're completely invisible. So just think about that every single time you interact with anyone, and sending lots of love for all of you. And I'll see you very soon. All right.